We are brought to you in part by the Union Street in Berwick, Nova Scotia. Recorded live here in the Annapolis Valley, this podcast is lucky enough to be on the stage of one of the country's best venues and restaurants. It has a long, lovely history of being family-owned, even has its own best-selling cookbook. Holy frig, that's unique. And did I mention it's an incredible venue? Like the best sound for your money anywhere. Suck it, Massey Hall. I said it, but that's me, not Union Street saying that. Back to them. They're incredible. Come there sometime. Come down sometime. I'll probably be there at the end of the bar talking about Massey Hall. Let's chat. Okay, successful sponsor ad, right? Howdy doody. Welcome, everybody, to the Friendly Heckler podcast. I'm your host, Zakary Miller, and I'm your host for the evening, afternoon, or morning, whenever you're listening to this. Tell me where you're listening to this. Email me at thefriendlyheckler@gmail.com. But enough of that. I've convinced a bunch of musicians to just join me on this wild journey, join me on stage in different places, and let me demand songs from them. I'm having a hee-haw of a time, so it's so fun. Thanks for tuning in. All right, upcoming dates. This comes out October 1st, so tonight, Stephen Fearing at the Spoke and Note in Falmouth, Nova Scotia. And then Jenny Burkle, October 17th at the Union Street in Berwick, Nova Scotia. So get online, book your tickets, they're still available. Follow the Friendly Heckler on all the digital social circles, but also get to the live shows for the full experience and just email me for more information. Again, thefriendlyheckler@gmail.com. Okay. Ooh, this episode, I have a performer who I have long admired and has inspired me many times over the years in my career. So, we talk about a million things on stage, but the craziest story he told me was actually out in the parking lot after the show. So I'm going to use this to introduce him because I think it shows how crazy and sweet he is and how things just happen for sweet people. So, Chris Luedecke was once on a plane and got to know his seatmate and got talking to them, found out they were also a performer performing that night. And it turned out that it was Tig Notaro who invited Chris Luedecke to open their set that night. Got to know each other on a plane. Chris Luedecke is so sweet. He's the most giving and really dynamic performer on stage out there. So you should definitely check him out. I'm going to tell you what his upcoming dates are. They're October 20th in Perth, Ontario for the Festival of Small Halls. October 22nd in Lyndhurst, Ontario for the Ontario Festival of Small Halls. November 16th at the West End Cultural Centre in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And April 20th, 2024 at the Greenbank Folk Club in Greenbank, Ontario. That's 420 at the Greenbank Folk Club. I like that. Greenbank on 420. Decent gig. Okay, enough about that. Old Man Luedecke, Chris Luedecke, is just known for telling great stories, so he tells a ton in this episode, and it was so nice to get to know him on stage. He talks about his early records with me because I love them so much, his newer records, which I love so much, and we even get into some of his time in the Yukon, how he paddled down the Yukon River with his entire family to a gig. What a crazy guy. How his work with Tim O'Brien as well. The incredible Tim O'Brien. Check Tim O'Brien out if you get a chance. I hope he comes on this podcast. Hey, Tim. And how Claire Lynch covered one of Chris's songs, and Bela Fleck played the banjo part. That's nuts to me. Chris plays not just my favorite songs, but the audience's favorite songs as well. They get into it. There's friendly heckling back and forth. This is a fun one. It's a lovely sit-down with a really lovely writer, player, and person, so cozy up, friends. Please welcome to the stage, Chris Old Man Luedecke. You can just jump in if you want.
Want to play a song?
Sure.
Oh, hi. one-trick pony. I broke faces that were cold and stony. And in the evening where the night meets the gloaming, like a pigeon, well, my heart goes homing. I have been subject to change, not what I'd rearrange. I never flock with those of fancy feathers. I've met all my friends in unfair weather. I'll belong when the kingdom come, when the kingdom come. I'll belong when the kingdom come, when the kingdom come. I'll belong when the kingdom come, when the kingdom come. Kingdom come, whoa, whoa. Kingdom come, whoa, whoa. I was crying in the wilderness. It's a pretty good place to build a home, I guess. I know the baby born in Bethlehem. I saw the star, brought the wise man unto him. Sunflower grows by my cottage door, grown 12 feet or maybe more. Face to the sun and wanting more, like a lion without a roar. I'll belong when the kingdom come, when the kingdom come. I'll belong when the kingdom come, when the kingdom come. I'll belong when the kingdom come, when the kingdom come. Kingdom come, whoa, whoa. Kingdom come, whoa, whoa. My offering, if only stars are allowed to sing. I believe in the small and the free as I gaze from heights that are wuthering. Let golden doubt come along, let my heart be filled with song. I never flock with those of fancy feathers. I've met all my friends in unfair weather. I'll belong when the kingdom come, when the kingdom come. I'll belong when the kingdom come, when the kingdom come. I'll belong when the kingdom come, when the kingdom come. Kingdom come, whoa, whoa. Kingdom come, whoa, whoa. Thank you.
Nice tune to start with.
Dang, it was a good suggestion.
Yeah, I know. I secretly suggested it. I always try and give the artist the first opportunity to choose whatever they want to open with and introduce themselves. But you're just one of those people who's like, what do you want to hear?
Yeah, I just spent the last 2.5 minutes wondering why we hadn't done a stomp check.
Right, because we took it off the stage, right?
Yeah, there's no stomping except I could just watch all the gear moving up and down. So I was like, have fun with that.
I will. Don't worry. That's going to be part of the sound. It's honest, and it's on like a shop
it's on
mount.
foam.
Yeah, these are my problems, Chris.
Yeah.
You're too considerate a performer. You're looking out for the engineers. Are you generally nice to sound techs on stage?
Well, you better be.
Nice.
Yeah, it doesn't work very well for you if you're not.
I've never understood why some artists on tour and stuff will like berate the monitor tech or something.
Yeah, that doesn't go very well, I don't think.
Why? Why would you start that way? Anyway, I love that tune.
Thank you.
That's off Tender as a Night, right?
Yes, that's right.
Which we were talking a bit about before we actually started this whole recording. But I love that album. I fell in love with that album. It's not the first one I fell in love with of yours. This is where I fanboy out all night and tell you I've loved every record you've ever released.
Oh, well, all right. Lay it on me.
I'll start early. I'll get it out of the way.
Heckle away.
Yeah, pander and then heckle. That's the key.
Sounds like a tattoo.
Pander and heckle. I'll put it on my knuckles. But that album's wicked. And you recorded that
I recorded that in Nashville at John Prine's recording studio called The Butcher Shop.
Wow.
I arrived in Nashville with this banjo and a knapsack, and Tim O'Brien picked me up at the airport, and he's like, "So that's what you got?" And I was like, "I guess." And then he's like, "Well, we were going to record it at his house, but they were drilling up his street, and Ferg, the guy who recorded the album, Dave Ferguson, the engineer, he made all those Johnny Cash American recordings, the Rick Rubin recordings.
Wow, yeah.
He did all the engineering for that for years and years. Anyway, he didn't want to bring the gear out anyway, and then all of a sudden there was this noise problem in Nashville. And so they were like, well, you could just do it at the studio for no extra charge, whatever. They were trying to keep it on the cheap for me, which is probably, hopefully not going to be a theme of the evening, but could be a theme of my life, you know.
Keeping it on the cheap?
Keeping it on the cheap.
Wet wood and keeping it on the cheap, those are common themes.
Yeah, so anyway, so we ended up working at the Butcher Shop studio, which was pretty cool, with a cast of Nashville ringers, you know, and you'd do a take, and then I came out one time took the headphones off, and they were just so pro, like you'd be like, oh, I hit a clam in the middle of Kingdom Come, sort of just before the second chorus, which I did tonight, and they would have they already would have fixed it. He would have flown in. He would have flown in a little clip from another take already.
Wow.
And then Del McCoury would be sitting on the couch, you know, and you'd be like, what's this guy doing here?
No way.
With his hair all, you're just like, that's really him.
How does that work, too? Do you just walk in and then they're charting everything out for you?
There's no charting. They just kind of...
They just listen.
No, they did have charts. Yeah,
Okay.
They did. Yeah, Tim had done that ahead of time.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've gotten to work with Tim O'Brien a few times.
Yeah.
Which is like a blessing for any artist in the world. But
Yeah.
How's Tim rubbed off on you? I'm curious.
Well, I'm hoping that mostly in my right hand on the guitar. I feel like I watch his guitar hand, and it's so kind of loose when he plays, and I just think that's so cool, you know. And he's just, I mean, I don't, you know, I'm on and off again with it all, but when he's playing the mandolin or the guitar, he's got like a kind of a neat kind of flick to it all. But then he's just a deadly singer, and you know, and then he likes the same kind of stuff, though, same kind of old stuff. We met in England. We had a mutual agent, and we got snowed in this little town. There was an incline of about, there was like a 4 or 5% grade, and people couldn't get home after this gig, and at the pub, so we all got quite loaded. And the next day, he was just like, I think you would like this guy, Jeff Davis. And I was like, I know Jeff Davis. He plays at the Lunenburg Folk Harbor Festival every year.
Okay, cool.
But he was like, I think you would dig this guy's sort of songs of the log driving woods. And I was like, you know, I do.
You already did, yeah. You nailed me, sir. How do you know me inside and out?
Yeah. So anyway, so then we ended up making, well, he's been on 4 of my albums now, but he came out to Vancouver the first time to make My Hands Are on Fire and Other Love Songs, and he came on as a sort of studio musician. He played 4 or 5 instruments.
Wow, I didn't
and
realize.
sang on everything. And then I was like, well, that was really cool. What would it be like if he produced an album? So then I went and did Tender is the Night in Nashville with this song here, Kingdom Come. And then I was like, well, that was really cool. What would it be like if we did it in my cabin at home outside of Chester? Just the 2 of us. And so that was the next record.
Domestic.
And then the
centric.
last one, he just, I don't know, did some shit on his iPhone and sent it in.
No, he didn't.
No.
On his iPhone? Okay. I love that you just reduced the
I'm just
music
like
industry.
making it like that, trying to give it a narrative arc of dismemberment.
A narrative arc of dismemberment. Chris,
No.
that's beautiful.
No, but I think I was right. I think that the Nashville, like the Vancouver thing was really cool with the other musicians doing that Nashville album was really neat because that was a whole, I mean, that was just like, it was just a dream come true.
I'm curious where, like you mentioned that you and Tim share the same love of music and same kind of stuff. Where did you pick up all this old gospel and stuff? Like,
Well, mostly from the Harry Smith anthology of
okay.
American folk music. So that was reissued on compact disc in 1997. I probably bought it in 98 or 99 from Smithsonian Folkways.
You ordered it?
No, I got it at Sam's in Halifax.
No way. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And,
Yeah, one person's a big fan of Sam's.
on the top floor there. And Al Tuck worked up there too, and Tracy Stevens, and
Okay.
so some guys that were really knowledgeable. And so then I started playing. So I basically bought a banjo. I had gotten into some of the stuff from the Vancouver Public Library too. I bought a banjo. I hitchhiked from Dawson City to Vancouver, sort of right after I finished university, and
Like,
bought
how
a
old are you?
banjo. I guess 22.
Wow.
So I didn't play the banjo till I was 22, but I worked in the linen department of the Hudson's Bay Company,
Soft hands then.
in the linen department.
Yeah.
Well, I was a stock boy, but probably
Caressing.
had soft hands. It doesn't matter what I do. Work on the scallop boat, soft hands.
Oh my God.
No, I'm kidding.
Really? You're the only one in the crew with soft hands?
No, I'm joking. But I just feel like anyway, Anyway, I don't know, where was I at? So yeah,
Hitchhiking, and then you finally-
listening to folk music. So I really liked bluegrass stuff, but I really liked the original from the 20s and 30s when the record companies didn't know what kind of albums were going to sell, and they just kind of recorded everything. Mm-hmm. And then it was like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what would stick. But the result was that there were a lot of albums of sort of hillbilly music that were made that were never commercially viable, that came out through commercial sources.
Right, like the Bristol Sessions.
The Bristol Sessions,
yeah,
that kind of thing. Anyway, I just liked it.
It's why? Okay, I'm curious what it is about banjo then that like is a voice for you. Why is it?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you feel like it translates you so well? And was that era? Like, did you hear the banjo in those recordings and go like, I gotta?
No,
get
I never
into
really
that.
played like those recordings, because it seemed, the nice thing about those recordings was it seemed like everybody kind of played in their own way, right? Every single, like you'd have the banjo manual, and you'd be like trying to learn this roll or that picking pattern or whatever, but then it seemed like you'd listen to those old recordings and it just seemed like it was a free-for-all of everybody playing whatever they wanted. So,
yeah.
So playing in the style that suited, which was also kind of liberating. I think there was a liberty in the sort of imperfect voice of the natural voice of the performer that was unusual. Whereas I think like a lot of the music that I liked earlier than that, or that I was aware of sooner, was like, I just didn't want to be like a sort of a blues. Didn't have a voice for blues belting, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
And it seemed like that was a natural path into music for lots of people, but not for me.
Did you start singing really nasally too in the early days?
Not
Like,
really,
I felt
no.
like when I found those recordings, I was like, oh, everyone has to sing like this all the time.
Yeah.
So you can cut through a microphone.
No.
No, I didn't sound like
not
an
yet.
ass. Yeah.
No, but I also sort of was, the banjo for me was sort of it was a timely thing. I knew that I was going to do something, and then it was just weird, and I felt like I was too old to sort of take up shredding guitar or whatever, but the banjo I didn't know anything about, so I was like, well, what's this thing all about? And I'll figure it out.
The Folklore Center in Halifax, when Fran, who my partner, was trying to learn banjo, she went in there and one of the people working handed her a book, a frailing banjo book.
Yeah.
And he said to her, I'll never forget it. He went, "Hey, you looking at that book? A young man walked in here once, grabbed that book, moved to the Yukon, came back an old man." Gave us that look like a high fidelity record store worker, like, you'll never be the same after that frailing banjo book.
Yeah, that seems like a familiar tale, but I bought this banjo there.
That banjo?
Yeah, I bought this banjo before I went to the Yukon. I bought this banjo for $700. It was a parts kit banjo that was from the Stuart McDonald mail order parts company catalog, and
You didn't put it together, though.
I didn't. Somebody did a bad job of it, and I think Tom put it back together.
Sweet.
And I was taking some lessons upstairs from Roger Stone.
Not Roger Stone, who was just arrested for helping Trump.
No.
Okay, cool.
Not that Roger Stone.
But he also plays banjo. Did you know that? Great
No.
banjo player. Oh, my God. Just kidding.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just put him right there on the list after John Lithgow.
No.
Yeah, sure.
John Lithgow plays banjo?
Yeah, well, a lot of comedians do, I think.
Tall white males.
Yeah.
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 Anyway.
I'm not tall, and I'm not a comedian, but yeah. So I don't know that. Anyway, I bought this banjo there, and then we hitchhiked back to the Yukon, and I spent a winter in a cabin writing songs with it, and then kind of came back and was like, I'm gonna do this.
You're going to get into it.
I was into it. I was into it from the moment I found it. It's just that the world was kind of like, you suck. You know.
Is that cabin, does that happen to be Kate's cabin?
Well, I worked at Kate's.
Okay, tell me, I'm about to friendly heckle you to play a certain song.
The cabin I lived in for the winter burnt down with a guy in it a couple of years after we lived there.
Oh, my God.
But, he fell asleep smoking in bed. But,
Wow, what a great song introduction, dude.
yeah, sorry.
Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm so sorry
So
for...
this is all right. This gives me you want to hear Spoons at Kate's?
Yes, that's a song I requested you. Because I want to get in... I could talk about the Yukon for like 18 hours, but... Which is probably about the length to drive there. No, that's like 400
close.
hours, yeah.
Well, let's see if I can try this. I wrote this. I was a dishwasher there briefly, and I remember one night I listened to Fred Eaglesmith play his song "Time to Get a Gun." Does anybody know that tune?
Yeah.
"Time to Get a Gun," and I was like, it has like a really stereotypical banjo part on it. I was just like, I don't know why I'm doing the thing I'm doing. I should just like sing the "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" songs and shut up. But I wrote this song. It was a sad song. This is Zach's request. He only wanted to hear songs off my very first EP, which has never been available since like 2004 or something.
It's off the internet. You cannot find this thing.
I gave it away briefly, like about 7 or 8 years ago online, but I don't know where the file is.
I have it.
You have it. All right, see if I can play this. I meant to work it up, but I didn't. I'm here watching ceiling fans turn at Spoons of Kate's. There's half a foot of mud outside, but that's not why you're late. Last night, before we went to bed, 'neath a moon of self-hate, you sang and wailed your lies, your self-annihilating cries. Saw green curtains on your eyes, took your fear of fate. I bought and bit into your fear like devils in my bread. Devils in my love for you, devils in my bed. Oh, the twisted truth of things, how the heart can sink like lead. I made a sadder thing of sad, our love just bled and bled. It was just an hour or two of black in the torn open heart of night. We picked and ripped over the scraps till darkness brought back light. So if you need to sleep, my love, as the rain falls gently down, I'll just sit and pray as the ceiling fans go round. I bought and bit into your fear like devils in my bread. Devils in my love for you, devils in my bed. Oh, the twisted truth of things, how the heart could sink like lead. I made a sadder thing of sad, our love just bled and bled. I made a sadder thing of sad, our love just bled and bled. Is that it?
Yeah.
There's no middle verse?
No, you repeated
Okay.
it.
Oh, I repeat the first one. I can't remember.
so.
I don't know. That song, recorded that song at the Khyber Club upstairs at the top of the Khyber building. And And that Charles had got this console from the CBC, and they wanted to treat the sound on it. He was like, it would be cool to really make that one sound old.
Yeah.
So it did.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
It's tapey. It's got
tapey,
the hiss.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It really I geeked out on that first record because it was called Mole in the Ground. I remember finding it on Noise Trade. It was available for free. And at the time, I had already discovered like Jimmy Rogers and all these Bristol recordings. And I stumbled across you and thought, after hearing Jimmy Rogers yodel, solo guitar player yodeling and getting chills up my spine, I was like, whoa, one person with an instrument can give you that feeling. I had never gotten that before, especially from recordings. So when I found Mole in the Ground and you had just weird songs like that where the quality was messed with, Mole in the Ground, like a classic trad tune, Yodel Lady, like it was just such a strong introduction, and you gave me hope because I didn't know that was happening in the Canadian music scene.
Cool.
I didn't know there was old time players out here. I didn't know. Yeah, you just gave me hope, man. And that yodeling was okay. Thank you.
It's okay, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it's all right.
And man, is it ever acceptable out here in Nova Scotia? Like maybe Ontario. I'm not sure how you felt touring Ontario with yodeling, but
oh no, I think they like it there too.
Swiss pockets for sure.
Yeah. Well, that album's kind of neat. I mean, so that was back when you could still have CDRs burned, and I remember Teresa drew the cover to look like a Robert Crumb album.
Yes.
So I was into that, and so she drew me kind of in a. So my wife is Teresa, but she drew me the album cover, and then we would have them photocopied and stuff, and put them out, and it was on the Song Post at Sam's, but. That I made the record for $80. I was only in the studio for a couple of hours, and the tuning of the banjo starts in one place, and then I never had a tuner at the time, so like they didn't like these sort of clip-on jobbies didn't really. I don't know, they probably existed, but I didn't have one. But anyway, so it starts out in one place and ends in a whole other place.
It's beautiful. It's like a field recording.
It's like a field recording, essentially.
Is that important to you, that sound? Field recording and.
Well, I really like it, you know.
More than most people would? Yeah, I think so. Oh, we're just getting a volume request.
Crank it up. Yeah.
Where were we? That can happen, folks. Don't feel like this is a live recording, but that doesn't mean that you can't get involved too, okay? Feel free to laugh. Let it out. You guys seem a little bit tense. You're like worried about the recording factor. Yeah. Well, I'm like too comfortable with it. Are you comfortable?
Oh, yeah, I don't mind at all.
Okay, yeah. After making your first record for $80 and then upstairs at the Khyber?
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And I made part of my second record in there too, Hinterland.
Wow.
Yeah, because Amelia Curran and Petunia are on that one. They're on the song The Joy of Cooking. They were sitting in the bar downstairs,
and they came
up to sing on Joy of Cooking, and Petunia plays a kazoo solo.
That's who does that kazoo solo? That's too cool.
Yeah, and Amelia, you can hear her voice very clearly singing a harmony through that.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Is that the album that Big Group Breakfast is on too?
No, that was the one after.
And did you actually have a Big Group Breakfast chorus for that?
Well, that chorus, I could play any of these songs if you want. Well, I'm happy to do that. But the Big Group Breakfast chorus is actually my very unwilling in-laws.
Oh, wow.
And I had been, because I recorded the album in Vancouver at Steve Dawson's house. Or no, at the Factory Studio in Vancouver. But we recorded their vocals. They came to pick me up and drive me to the airport. And then Steve was like, well, we need gang vocals. And they were like her dad, like, I don't know.
Just not
they were stressed, but they made so many layers of the parents and sister singing that it just didn't matter.
Oh, so that's like the same 8 people,
just again and again and
cool.
again and again.
Ah,
yeah,
wow,
like
recording magic.
4 or 5 very unwilling people who had left the van running.
Were they from Ontario? Because I feel
no,
like
they're from
Ontario
Delta, BC, but they really were not into it. Was notable, and then I used to like kind of bother them about it every time they would come. But then they came to a lot of shows, and I don't anymore.
Nice, except for right now. But I can always.
Yeah, but they're not here.
Yeah, I mean that's more accurate to like what a family breakfast is like. You know, there's somebody who's like, I wrote
that song about a breakfast in Sackville, New Brunswick. But it sort of stood in for all the breakfasts I'd had till that point.
And everybody else's breakfast. You know how many
Yeah.
breakfasts I've been to where people are like, let's put on that song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, I should play it. Do you want me to play it?
Sure.
I'll do it.
Did anybody have breakfast for dinner tonight? Just me.
It was a big group breakfast like so many others. Had our eggs and we had each other. The merits of towns, good hash browns. Morning winds up while the evening winds down. There's sun in the steam of the coffee cups. It lingers round the table and warms us up. Where will you go next and what do you do? Really nice last night having drinks with you. And you might be nostalgic about this. That's just one small part of bliss. As you go round life spins, hope there's always a breakfast at the end. I get through with this. I get through with this. I get through with this. Na 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 na. We're cracking up jokes, mopping up yolks, starting to feel like pretty fine folks. There's no need to talk much in the woozy spaces. There's understanding on our boozy faces. And you might be nostalgic about this. That's just one small part of bliss. As you go round life spends, hope there's always a breakfast at the end. I get through with this. I get through with this. I get through with this. Na 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 na. The table is littered with jams and creamers. The booth is tight packed with tight-faced beamers. And all of the paths that we will take when we leave the cafe and our breakfast break. And you might be nostalgic about this. That's just one small part of bliss. As you go round life spins, hope there's always a breakfast at the end. I get through with this. I get through with this. I get through with this. Na 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 na. Big group breakfast, yeah.
Wicked. Breakfast needed a theme song.
I wrote that on Kennard Street above Gig Street Music.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Which is now a
Well, the ladies'
restaurant,
consignment clothing store that was there. We lived there for a couple of years, and yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's now. What is it now?
A restaurant, like a tapas
It's a
place or
restaurant.
something?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes, that's
wow.
right.
How long did you live in Halifax for?
Well, we lived there 99 to 2001, and then 2002 to 2004, I guess.
Wow, is this this is post Yukon for you?
Well, we met there in 98, and then she went to art school in Halifax in the fall of 99. So then we went back to the Yukon 2001, 2002.
Wow.
And then,
Okay.
Then yeah.
Now you have a big family, man. Speaking of big group breakfasts, I feel like that's every breakfast for you guys.
Big group breakfast, yeah.
And You just took your family on the wildest trip I've heard of anyone taking a family on, let alone a big family.
Yeah.
You did the Yukon River?
Yeah, we paddled 650 kilometers to a gig.
We paddled to a gig. 650 kilometers in how many days?
14 days and 13 nights.
Oh, my God,
Yeah.
that's crazy,
It was
man.
a long trip, but it was amazing. I wish it was twice as long.
How do you pack for that?
Well, I took this banjo in a dry bag, and
The banjo that you were going to play the gig with?
yep.
There was no backup banjo on the trip.
I just figured, I had this thing in all kinds of uncertain circumstance, and I was like, well, the guitar lives on a stand, but the banjo lives on the floor, and I just was like, this thing, if anything can handle it, it's that thing. I mean, I would have been
Yeah.
I would have probably found a new way to make a living if I'd lost it.
No way. Back to Scalloping?
But,
How badly did you want to get a photo of you using the banjo as a paddle, right?
well, there was a Ken Perlman album of PEI banjo fiddle tunes. Like, he transcribed fiddle tunes, and he was drawn on the cover in a cartoon format paddling with the thing. So
Okay. It's your turn.
it had been done. I was like, nah.
Nah.
I'll do it next time.
Low-hanging fruit, which I heard you were a fan of.
Low-hanging fruit, fan of it, yeah.
Okay, cool. You said that in your banjo last night, and I love that. Which, yeah, I haven't mentioned this on the podcast officially yet, but you played here last night. It was an amazing job, man.
Oh, thank you.
Packed house.
Yeah.
It was so lovely.
It was super nice, but the nice thing is except for the first song, I didn't play any of those two songs.
I know. I'm trying to pick between the lines.
Yeah, it's good.
Anyway, back to the paddling trip. I just think that's insane.
Yeah, well, it was awesome. So I've got two 12-year-old twins, girls, and then a 10-year-old girl. And we were all in one 20-foot canoe. And we didn't lose the canoe. That would have been worse than losing the banjo.
Hope so.
And because the river's moving at quite a clip, right? So if you screw up, and it was a big boat, so like the outfitters, like the guided trips that we saw, this is probably not that interesting, but the guided trips always hauled their canoes right out of the water up onto the bank. But our canoe was like kind of too big for that. So we just kind
You had to
of...
tie it up and hope that it didn't disappear
Well,
overnight?
we kind of did the best we could. We camped on a lot of gravel bars, and anyway, at a certain point, that's kind of the bulk of the camping that we did. So it was sort of wild camping on gravel bars.
How long does that take most people?
I don't know. We were passed by many people.
Okay,
and
so
then
you're
we
taking it
met
easy.
we met people. We weren't taking it easy.
Oh.
Well, I paddled all day.
Okay.
I mean, a 20-foot canoe had a fair bit of weight in it. If you think about 5 people, and
So even with the current?
even with the
you're-
current, it was like a fair bit of work. More than because like Kim Barlow was like, it's the float and bloat.
The float and bloat? Like
She lived in Whitehorse for years, and she was like, oh, but I think people from Whitehorse could like go do a portion of it with like 100 beers. You know what I mean? And then get out or
100
get picked up.
beers is the same as 3 kids.
Yeah,
it probably weighs the
is
same.
it about the same?
Yeah, 2 12-year-olds and a 10-year-old. That's
Yeah.
exactly 100 beers, actually.
That's true. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Anyway, that was it. But anyway, no, it turned out to be quite a bit more work than that because I had to play the Dawson City Music Festival, so I had to make sure I arrived in a timely fashion with all of my limbs.
That's
I guess.
incredible.
Yeah, but we were just beautifully lucky. We had only nice weather. We had a couple of lightning storms, I guess, near the end of the trip, and a terrible headwind. We sang all of 99 bottles of beer on the wall. It was the most consistent paddling we got out of the children was starting at 99 and going to 1. And I figured it's probably a record.
That nobody else
Well,
has
I don't.
actually done
I've
that?
never. Does anybody ever get all the way through that song?
Most of those people are deserted on an island and you never hear from them again.
I think that song loses its flavor at about 93.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
But at
was
60, were you like, we're crazy again, we're in this?
Oh, totally.
30?
There are many moments. It's like a whole life was lived while singing that song.
Your children are like,
you're like,
full
we'll
of
never
tears.
get there, and then you're like, we'll get there, and one went totally bananas and started getting the numbers all wrong. So it was good. It was good. But they paddled, and that was nice. And
You came out stronger for it?
yeah, I mean, I was kind of hoping we would, like, I was hoping that there would be like slightly more hardship, and then the kids would eat things called stew or soup. But as it was, I kind of was like I fully made like egg sandwiches for 2 kids one night and Mr. Noodles for a 3rd kid. You know what I mean? Like, it's like pretty dumb. Like it seems like in the woods you should all be all for one and one for all.
You should all agree on Mr. Noodles in the woods.
Right.
When fending for
Do you
survival.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no. Anyway, so that was something that I didn't overcome. So that gives me hope for further wilderness trips with my family, because until we're all sort of half starved into cohesion, culinary cohesion.
That's amazing. Half starved culinary cohesion.
I don't even know if that makes sense in English.
It does. Oh, that was a Korean joke.
Yes, that's
yeah,
right.
okay, right. No, I've heard that in Korean, and it's
Yeah.
much funnier.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that trip to other families?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, there's no white water on it, so
Okay.
there's a few things that make it really acceptable for families.
you ever seen
there's
that-
no portaging, there's no white water, which is a big plus.
For you, it's
You're
a
not
big
really
plus for
worried
you.
about you're not really worried about dying,
Okay, on this trip, on the
tipping.
Yukon.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean, or whatever.
Have you ever seen that Meryl Streep and Kevin Bacon movie about the whitewater?
No, what is it? A river runs through it?
No, that's a much gentler movie.
Oh.
This movie is terrifying.
Oh,
And I'm so glad you didn't watch it before taking your family on a
I'll
trip.
watch it tonight.
Yeah, don't watch it tonight.
Okay.
Watch it next time. Actually, don't watch it.
Okay, I won't.
It's pretty bad. Kevin Bacon's a perfect villain.
Oh, yeah, so he is.
Will you play me a song?
I will. What should I play?
I want you to pick this one. I'm curious what you would pick, because I could ask you to play all your 20-year-old hits.
Yeah, well, well, does anybody have any ideas out there?
I love that you're that kind of performer.
You quit your job. I can do that right now.
Numerous people apparently quit their jobs today, so they're...
Well, if it's as an air conditioning repair person, I think that it's not very timely.
Sorry. I had to do it. How many people do you get coming up to you at shows like, hey, I just quit my job, man?
Well, it depends on the season.
And the town, I guess.
Okay, I can do this. This is also 20 years old, isn't it? Oh, bright minds of poverty, hold on to your hard-won liberty. Discard your store-bought realities. Don't let them take the joy that you make on your own. Work when you need to, baby, but don't let them bleed you, baby. Do nothing more than feed you, lady. Don't let them take the joy that you make on your own. Don't fuss, don't fight it, no. Take that wrong and right it home. And always live on rice and potatoes. Take your heart's candle and relight it. I quit my job. I quit my job. I quit my job. I'm free today. Should be proud of where I am. All my friends work their dreams with their hands. And truly this is the promised land. You don't let them take the joy that you make on your own. Don't kill yourself about making it. Just be taking it easy, but be taking it. There's enough out there who are faking it. Don't let them take the joy that you make on your own. Don't fuss, don't fight it, no. Take that wrong and right it home. And always live on rice and potato. Take your heart's candle and relight it. I quit my job. I quit my job. I quit my job. I'm free today. Thank you very much. It's not 20 years old. It's like
Great request.
16 years old.
16?
I don't know.
Is that the last time you had to quit a job?
No, I quit the scalloping just recently. I also
Yes.
quit. I taught ukulele in Chester for till last year, like from the beginning of the pandemic.
What? That's cool. I didn't know you did that.
Picked up kids after school and at Chester CDS and walked them to the St. Stephen's Hall, and they got a snack and then banged on drums and played ukulele, and
Cool.
yeah, it was cool.
You were teaching ukulele and scalloping at the same time?
No, I guess not. But well, that would be a trick. But
Okay, the timing is...
but no, afterwards.
I was curious about the scalloping thing, because is that something you actually went back to? Like you had done it before?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
You've just
I
known
went I had a very exciting raw scallop in the city, and I went and found out that it was my neighbor who grew it, my immediate neighbor across the road.
That's crazy.
Duncan, who I've known for, I don't know, forever. Anyway, he was like, well, would you like a job? And I was like, yeah. And then, so we just had a great time.
And you enjoy life on a boat?
I did. I mean, I trashed a pair of glasses with a pressure washer, which was not great.
Off your face? Somebody pressure wash your
No,
face?
they got really, ruined.
Okay.
Like to the point, everything was quite angelic. These ones are getting that way, but just kind of because you have to sort of hold the nets up, and if you hit the scallop with the stream from the pressure washer, they die instantly. So you had to hold them up and wash the sort of biofouling off the nets. And anyway, it was, so you just stand there all day like this.
Shaking with your fist in the air? Wow, that seems
Well,
uncomfortable.
with the sort of rig of the pressure washer sort of slung over your shoulder.
I am so not made for sea that when I found out you were doing that, I was like, Godspeed, sir.
Well,
like the Irishman in me was like, you're a better man now, you know?
Well, it was the best press I ever got. The CBC was like, thank God he quit.
Really?
They were like, a musician throws in the towel.
Yeah,
Not really, but they I mean, it was notable how many people heard about that.
Yeah, it's incredible.
More than my
man.
last record, for sure.
Well, I feel like, what, Easy Money?
Absolutely.
It went hand in hand with Easy Money to me beautifully.
Well, it's true.
Suddenly, there's like, you're on a boat, you're working as a scallop fisherman, you put out this album where it sounds like you spend your summers in the rum trade down south in the islands, and then you come back and bring your banjo reggae music with you. Actually, last night, the third song into your set, I've never heard anybody introduce a song as existential solo banjo reggae music.
Right.
You're hitting a niche market, dude.
Oh, yeah.
For all the scallop fishermen who are into existential solo banjo reggae?
I can imagine. I have no idea. Do you want to hear that one?
Oh, please. The existential solo banjo?
Yeah, might as well. It didn't make the cut for my record, so I'm only playing this song.
Now, it's going to be out in the world now.
The more I see of my life's thread lying there unspooled, and the fates with their scissors trying to play it cool, the more that I can be myself in thought and deed and rule, The more I see I'm average here on a ship of fools. Tell me which way to Mount Zion, oh holy man. I'm done here in Babylon, I'll go there if I can. If I take the ego out of what I understand, there's really nothing left behind but a handful of sand. I try not to cast judgment on other people's sin. It's a concept that I live without. If a state I'm in, tell me which way to Mount Zion, oh holy man. I'm done here in Babylon, I'll go there if I can. When all the world's on fire with desire for the end, tell me which way to Mount Zion, I'll go there if I can. I sometimes look into the mirror, I'm surprised at what I see. There's a smile of forgiveness now looking back at me. So many things matter less than I thought they would. And deep within this troubled heart, there's a soul that's good. Tell me which way to Mount Zion, oh holy man. I'm done here in Babylon, I'll go there if I can. When all the world's on fire with desire for the end, tell me which way to Mount Zion, I'll go there if I can. Constantine Levin in Anna Karenine concluded life was seeking. I'll accept that as a plan. I'll be the kind of bastard who masters the self. I better get a move on now before I lose my health. Tell me which way to Mount Zion, oh holy man. I'm done here in Babylon, I'll go there if I can. When all the world's on fire with desire for the end, tell me which way to Mount Zion, I'll go there if I can. Thank you. There's that one, yeah, so that one's, yeah, I gotta make another record and put that one on it. We tried to get it, but it didn't work out.
You really wanted it on there?
Well, I did, but it ended up sounding like reggae, and it was like, yeah, like, everybody was like really good at their jobs, you know, so it was like, really sounded like reggae, but it was like, maybe that's not what the song needs, you know what I mean?
Is it because you said the word Zion? Over
Yeah.
like a two,
Yeah.
and you were like, that's Bob Marley.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you also say the word Iron?
No, thank God. Iron, Lyron's Iron.
Yes, yes. Okay, good.
Iron Lions, Iron.
Just me. Okay,
I wish,
cool.
but I love that song. Oh my God, I love that song.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about that song and I Want to Go off of Domestic Eccentric. They both have a really like similar message to me, which is like, hey, I don't know what your religion is, but if it's true, I'm in, right?
Right. I guess that's right.
Which is like
interesting.
such a common, and I feel like there's a lot of interesting biblical references in a lot of your early songs. And I just started to assume that you're like really well read. I just assumed you've read everything and that you're like, the Bible, yeah, I got those stories in check.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but I do like to read a lot. But I can't help but think whenever I see, you say, and it's nice that you hear Bob Marley because I'm always worried about David Gray.
David Gray?
Doesn't he have a song about Babylon? Isn't that his big hit? And then I'm just like, oh, well, and I love that song too, but not as much as Iron Lion Zion, but
what did make you lean into the island sound? Like, what influenced you all of a sudden?
Well, I don't know. I mean, in a way, I grew up with a beautiful cassette of Harry Belafonte singing Christmas songs.
Oh.
And a really wonderful thing that is. And then it turns out that like the Kingston Trio, which I was never really that into, but the sort of early, in a way, I think the fact that I'm able to make a living as a folk performer in any way is partly on account of a very short commercial window where there was a mass market acceptance and understanding of folk song, and that was partly due to the Kingston Trio.
Yeah.
But the Kingston Trio and the Weavers before them, about a decade before them, with Pete Seeger in it. But the Kingston Trio was named the Kingston Trio because of Kingston, Jamaica. They were.
What?
They were. They started out. It wasn't clear what was going to pay better. It was like.
Are you serious?
Yeah, well, there was a full calypso moment in pop culture around the same time as those folk songs. It was I think it was 1957 was the year that these songs really hit big on the pop charts, the calypso songs, and anyway, and so they became known better as that. Of course, I think about their version of the Sloop John B. They sang like that wonderful Beach Boys song, but of course that's an island song. And then through loving field recordings, I really like the recordings of like the Georgia Sea Islanders. Do you know that stuff?
No.
There's an island off Georgia with some really interesting sort of religious music. A singer named Bessie Jones, I think, and anyway, the Grateful Dead used to do one of their songs every night. Lay down, my dear brother, lay down and take your rest. Have you ever heard that one?
Yeah, that's theirs. Okay.
Yeah, that's like, it comes out of a folk tradition. So anyway, so there, I don't know. I think with that Easy Money record, I just was like, I'm just going to do the things I want to do.
Nice.
And I had started writing that one about Oak Island.
Money Pit.
Money Pit, yeah. Which I don't know if I don't think I know it all the way through right now.
That's
But
okay.
But
That's
yeah.
such a good tune. Thank you for calling it out.
Money Pit?
Just being a money pit, yeah.
I think it would be worth bringing up the lyrics. There's like a middle verse that I'm missing. I left my phone in the car about to.
Oh, yeah. Here, can we Google the lyrics to your song?
I mean, that one, I did it last week, and then I've forgotten what it was.
No way.
Well, somebody asked for it in
Money
Hampton,
Pit.
New Brunswick, and I was like,
Old Man Luedecke lyrics. I've made fun of artists for, it's on Spotify. Should I bring that one up?
This song is based on a Lead Belly lick. Not the lick. That's my lick, I guess. Well, that's probably a lick for everybody, but... Okay, how does it go?
I can't access the lyrics on
Oh.
Spotify. I don't have a Spotify account.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Doesn't I think there's the one verse is really good that I can't remember.
Somebody in the front row is going to
But
bring
it's
up
like
the lyrics for the... Will you hold up the phone
I can
as
do.
well?
Let's just get the parts that I can remember, and then out on Oak Island. So, in other words, my kitchen window looks out towards Oak Island from where we are, and so. Anyway, there was a time period where we could see the tower there, and of course, all the people from the show were in the tavern in Chester and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I never really watched the show because, well, we don't have TV. But I read all the Wikipedia entries for what happens in each
updated?
Yeah, in each show, and it turns out not much.
No, yeah.
Anyway.
We're out of water.
So this is based on like imperfect knowledge, but I'll see if I can do it for you. Out on Oak Island, Captain Kidd buried gold. He was a famous pirate living in the days of old. Well, they say that he buried 2 million, and the story quickens souls. But there's no map to where it's hidden. No one can find the gold. It's full of holes. It's full of holes. It's full of holes. It's full of holes. Money pit, oh money pit. Everybody coming to look for it. Money pit, oh money pit. Everybody coming to look for it. On the south shore of Nova Scotia, the treasure seekers here have been drilling into poor Oak Island for 200 years. Doing pretty good. You're just checking your email now, right?
No,
You got
no,
it?
of course not.
200 years.
Trying so
Did you, anyway, I got it. I just have to think. 200 years. Let me know if this is like not worth pursuing.
This is. I'm trying to look up the lyrics at the same time. It's like impossible.
Money pit, oh money pit. Everybody coming to look for it. Money pit, oh money pit. Everybody coming to look for it. They say, the lust they have for treasure. They seek the money pit with the lust they have for the treasure and all the things they will do with it. They say Leonardo da Vinci designed the booby traps. Some say that the Mason's Lodge just ain't saying where it's at. But I know one thing for certain, this beyond a fact. What the island once was given, she's keeping and not giving back. Oh money pit, everybody coming to look for it. Money pit, oh money pit, everybody coming to look for it. It's full of holes, it's full of holes. That poor Oak Island is full of holes. It's full of holes. It's full of holes. That poor Oak Island is full of holes. Well, sorry. That's close.
Thank you. Thanks for being like incredibly honest as a performer too.
Well, I could have probably got it if I'd stumbled around for another minute or two, but I played that song for the producers of the show, and
What'd they think?
they never wrote back. I mean, I played it to them on the porch, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's great. It's all in there." And I was like, "Yep," and that was the end of it. But whatever.
Yeah.
What care I for time?
They'll come back. They'll always be back.
Yeah. Anyway, that's that one. But yeah. But we had I can't remember the name of the instrument, but I made it's like a big thumb piano that you sit on.
Not a kalimba.
It's got a name that sounds like clavinola. It's like
Cool.
I don't know. Anyway,
That was on the recording?
that's on the recording. Yeah, Rick Rigby plays that in Montreal from the Lake of Stew band.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he called down to me from a second balcony window, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "I got a Trinidadian band." I was like, "Do you have one of those things?" And he was like, "Yeah, I play it all the time."
That's insane.
So he
of course,
came.
the Lake of Stew people.
Yeah.
Wow, the Jug
Yeah.
Band lives.
Yeah.
Which you did an album with Lake of Stew, which is another album that I friggin' fanboy
In
over.
Riverport, we did that.
That's where you guys did that?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
sing all about it.
They Sing All About It, it was called. They came down, I think they went to the Magdalen Islands and then came down and hung out. And I don't even know if we played a show, but they just all moved into my house for a week.
Are you serious?
Yeah. There was like 10 people in the band.
That's what you get for playing with a jug band. They're just
Yeah.
gonna move in with you.
And then we made this little album, and then they broke up. And
Yeah, and they kind of splintered into a bunch of different bands. One of which, Ever Loving Jug Band.
So good.
Shout out to you guys. I love you guys very much. They're so good. Brad and Julia, they just get that sound, and even Duff and stuff. But that scene is so cool, and that album.
oh, so great.
I listened to that for a long time, and I didn't know until, honestly, I guess a couple years ago, that Delia and Wilhelmia were your daughters' names.
Right.
Delia and Cordelia.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Dee Dee and Mina, but
Dita
on the
and Mina.
record they're called Delia and Wilhelmina or something.
Wilhelmina, yeah.
Her name is Wilhelmina and Cordelia. I said this last night, but Cordelia was named, my wife went to the IWK with a complicated twin pregnancy, and I went to the bookmark to get her a book of baby naming books, and the clerk was like, you should have a Cordelia. So I went back to the hospital, and I was like, Therese, I got you the book, but I got one name, Cordelia, which stuck.
And then
She had
Teresa chose
Wilhelmina
the other?
already in her back pocket. So
Ah, but didn't tell you about that.
she hadn't, but she had her at the ready.
Interesting that they paired so nicely together.
Yeah, probably.
And then that song about your that song about your children's names
I don't know.
opened the record.
I wouldn't say that they would self-describe as pairing so nicely. As twins, I don't know if anybody's a
your
twin,
kid-
but Jesus.
Changed the name anyway to Dee Dee, eh?
She did, yeah,
Nice.
before she could talk.
One thing actually you mentioned last night that I thought was crazy is you got an honorary degree from King's?
Yeah, I have a doctorate of civil laws.
What?
Yeah.
What are civil laws?
I don't know.
That's awesome.
I think that's the category into which the degrees that they hand out in an honorary capacity fall. So that's the way. I think some schools do it as letters and others do it as
Right.
civil law.
You, sir, have proven yourself civil.
That's it.
Welcome to
Indeed.
King's.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I've been playing. I've been lucky enough to play for quite a number of years. I play a orientation week concert in the
Oh.
chapel,
Nice.
and so I'm lucky to play for those kind of awesome people that go to King's. And
So were they like, hey, Chris, we can't pay you this year, but
here you go.
we
Latin
got an
over your
honorary
head.
degree.
Can you kneel on this velveteen cushion? And we'll
Do they knight
we'll
you?
pass a scepter over you. Well, there was some Latin said.
With a hand held out like that, too, and shaken like
I'm
a
not sure
Baptist
there wasn't
preacher?
a scepter. There was a magic stick.
Wait,
Did anybody have?
did
Does
you get an
everybody
honorary
have this?
degree from Hogwarts or King's?
More or less. No,
Yeah.
it was the honor of my life. It was really great. And the nice thing was, in order to sort of justify this thing, they made this beautiful citation that sort of said how these songs had moved through people's lives and
Wow.
stuff, and it was very nice. It was very, very amazing.
I think the next step then is somebody in this audience has to nominate you for the Order of Canada.
Oh,
I think that's inevitable. You've done the Juno thing, which
the Juno thing. Well,
did that.
all those things are good.
Order
The
of
Junos
Canada.
was nice because I was in Tasmania the first time, like on a really little island called Flinders Island, on the north side of Tasmania, playing a gig. So I missed that hoopla, and then the second time I was in Texas, and then I went once and didn't win. So
Oh, really?
yeah, so I got the full experience.
They were chastising you. They were punishing you for not being at the
It's
two
just-
awards.
I mean, awards are interesting because you often think you're doing better work. You can't remember the work you did before, so you're like, this is better work.
right.
And they're like, nah, we like the other stuff better.
Where you weren't trying, or you were like you
Or whatever, we like the 20-year-old stuff.
Yeah. Are you? Did you just friendly heckle me?
I friendly heckled you.
Well done,
Hard on that
Chris.
one.
That
Yeah.
was tasty, man.
No, it's okay. That's just how it goes. It's just like you fall in love with something. It doesn't mean you don't like the rest of it. It's just like you love something. Why would you bother mucking around with anything else?
Yeah, well, I was wondering how you would get, like in the early days, where you. Sorry, I couldn't help with the pun. But in the early days, like, did you get miscategorized? Because you jokingly referenced "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
And as someone who plays old time music myself, I feel like that is the constant moniker that people assign to you. But did you get children's performer and stuff?
Well,
in the
I'm
early
doing
days
that
too?
tomorrow in Bridgewater. Elsie, free show, 3 o'clock.
Hey, shameless plug. Nobody on the podcast is going to know
Oh,
about this.
okay.
This is going to air in like 2
They'll
weeks.
have all been.
Yeah. They'll have all. They were there.
They were there.
All the listeners, yeah.
They'll all know that it was good.
But you're doing a children's show tomorrow.
I think so.
So you have. Yeah, you better not bring your like 9 p.m. set for the children's show.
Well, yeah, no, it'll be what I do, but yeah. Well, two things to that. I can't remember the first one.
How you got miscategorized, I guess.
Miscategorized, yeah. I mean, I think as a songwriter, or for me, I just want to be like, if someone's like, "Well, do you write children's songs?" You're like, "Yes, sure." Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember, didn't Mitch Hedberg say, "Any book is a children's book if the kid can read"?
Yeah.
It's like, well, okay. It's like, I'm for this, but I just wouldn't want to be like, well, I don't write songs for kids. Like, I think that I do.
You write really literal songs too.
Yeah, it's so in terms of category, that's always the thing. I think, in a way, the old man moniker and the banjo and some of the early sort of things were really important to sort of getting me on stage and getting me comfortable and giving me, setting me apart perhaps. But I think if I ruined it at all, it was by allowing my personality to take over. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But
personality or ego?
Well, no, I think the personality of the songwriting became much more important to me as I went on than being able to represent that. I'm having an interesting moment of return or forgiveness where I sort of see that the things that people want really are the best things. Do you know what I mean? Or often, do you know what I mean? Like, whereas for years I've been like, no, it should be this subtle thing that no one likes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, the tendency is to be like, I'm going to just throw the whole gig for the one person who asked for the random song rather than the song everybody wants, or whatever.
That's tonight. That's the whole point of this podcast right now, is I'm asking for the random songs. And I organize this whole
and I'm giving you nothing
charade.
but trouble about it. I'm just like,
Screw you, big
but,
fan. Absolutely.
But I think that's important. That's a negotiation that anybody that does anything for other people or with other people,
It's your profession, too, at that point. Where
Yeah. Well, and I'm not in it to make people unhappy.
Well, okay. There was one.
I'm unhappy. That's why I'm doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you buy the banjo, you're like, well, fucking, that's the end of unhappiness.
Right.
And it turns out not to be the case. And then you sort of
money pit of
you figure out a way to let all of your complaints come through this one 5-string device. And then it turns out you're just complaining in the end. And
do you feel like that with songwriting?
Sometimes.
Like the more personal songs?
Well, and a lot of the songs that I deep six are just start out as just pure. Like, I write like 4 or 5 kind of just woe is me songs off the bat before I get anywhere that's sort of halfway decent.
I read this quote from you that like blew my mind because I've always kind of thought about gigs like this, but I've never heard anybody talk about songs like this, where you said, I'm going to paraphrase it, but that you were hammering away at lesser magic to make space to find the perfect songs.
Wow, what does that even mean?
I know. It was one of those lines that was like damn you, Chris, that's beautiful. And you threw it away at an interview. Well, but it was, I get what you're saying of like, get a bunch of material out, and within those 5 songs, there's one that's going to really stick.
Yeah. I mean, generally, if I finish a song, I have a really hard, I remember, I don't really want to, I don't know how to do it without. I saw a performer one time who was like, it was like the problem with this other performer that they had been romantically involved with was that they don't know what their good songs are. And I heard that pretty early on, and I was like, I fall into that category. Like, I'm pretty excited about the new stuff. I honor the stuff that I genuinely enjoy playing. I quit my job, and that sort of thing. But I can't really. The problem as I get farther with this or older is that, like, people are like, well, Springsteen plays for 3 hours. It's like, I can't play for 3 hours. I'm not allowed.
What?
I would play for 3 hours, but it'd be pretty awkward in here if like half of the audience left. Because like, there's only ever one person at each table who's like really.
Again, you're like so considerate.
Yeah. I remember I went to see a gig once with my wife, and it was like quite long, and she was like, I could have used like an hour less of that. And I was like, man, I loved every minute of it. And I was, so that's stagecraft that goes into all kinds of other things. But
How did the stage affect How did the stage affect your writing then? Because when you
that's
first
a good
started
question.
writing,
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, it probably affects the songs that end up making it for me personally. Do you know what
I feel like the stage and your banter and your stories, that's a big part
Yeah,
of your act. And
It's a big part of it. Yeah.
for sure. So did that start to rub off on your writing a bit where you were like, I'm going to tell more stories or I'm going to
No, because
because
I've done, one of my favorite albums is Ramblin' Jack Elliott's Young Brigham. Do you have that record?
No.
There's a song. He's riding on a pony on the front of it, and which he did. And then there's a song on there called 912 Greens. Do you know that?
No.
And it's like kind of a talking blues about going to New Orleans in the 50s. Like, seems like Allen Ginsberg must have been there or whatever. And it's just this beautiful, like, it's sort of played over a beautiful finger-picking pattern. He's like, round about 1958, I went down to New Orleans. Anyway, it's really cool. But I've never done that. I've never done a talking song. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've never, which I think would be neat and seems natural because I kind of play the banjo when I talk on stage. But I think I realized a lot of what I do on stage, if you want to know the honest truth, is probably contained in this story, which is that when I was about 4 or 5, I went to kinder music, which was like an educational thing for little squirts.
Playing recorder and stuff?
I wasn't playing recorder. I had to sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, but I was a really big Bugs Bunny fan. And anyway, I guess I was introduced, and the teacher was like, and I don't remember this. This was just a story that my dad said, but the teacher was like, and what will you play for us, Christopher? And I didn't introduce the thing. I just went, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. I sang it all the way through. I got to the end, and I was like, now does that answer your question? And I think in a way, the beginnings and endings of things are very stressful for me. And so talking and tuning, and these are all ways of not letting anything ever really start or stop. It's just the Old Man Luedecke experience is a continuum.
The express has left the station, baby.
Well, whatever it is. Yeah. Like, that's all it is. It's just like, I don't have a hard beginning. I'm not like, here's the moment, the lights come up and the smoke goes.
Yeah.
It's like.
Was there a moment where you kind of had to divide those characters? Like, I had a high school nickname that was Hummus.
Hummus.
Hummus was my high school nickname, and it became this character that, post life or post Hummus, you kind of had to reckon with and be like, oh, is that me, or am I just like playing a character? Who am I? Did you ever have to do that on stage with Old Man and Chris? Like, did they ever have to meet or fight?
No, I don't think so.
Because there's a lot of existential crisis going on in your songs.
You might give me one for the drive home.
I'm so sorry.
I had a nice. No, not really. I don't think so.
But there's more personality in your writing.
I kind of see it all the same. I think it's all the same stuff. But in terms of writing songs for the stage, I don't know. I talked to David Miles about that one time. And he was like, he nicely said, he's like, well, in a way, we're sort of filling in the songs that we don't have. Like, you don't have a song like this or a song like that might be appropriate for moods of moments as a show progresses or something like that. And I thought that was pretty interesting and pretty apt. Like, I think I've probably done that. I've probably been like, well, this song doesn't need to ride alongside of another song that operates in the same sphere. You could have one or the other, but rarely both.
Do you pose yourself challenges like that? Like, I don't have a bossa nova song, so I'm going to try and...
Well, I didn't have any calypsos until the last record.
I mean, now you got a record full of them.
Yeah.
And plus a few. But last night you
ones.
actually played a bossa nova style song.
Yeah, that's true. That one went pretty good.
That was that a pandemic song too, did you say?
Oh, it was a pretty sad song.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful. And actually, you playing something like Bossa Nova, it just gives me hope. Like, I talked to Corey Eisner recently on the podcast. I had Tara Spencer on the podcast. And both of them are guitarists that I feel like incorporate this weird, interesting Bossa Nova Latin vibe into
Sure.
So you guys are just like giving me hope for the sound of this province. I feel like we're in a whole new barrier with our experimentation.
Cool. Well, I don't know if I'll ever get back there again, but
When's
it's a
your Bossa Nova
nice
record
place to
coming?
visit. Yeah, well, that's
Your
true.
depressing Bossa Nova record?
Well, I was pretty not into bluegrass for a while. Like I got into that for a little bit, and in a big way, and I wrote some songs that I thought were pretty good in that sort of realm, and then I never really wanted to write those kinds of songs. But then I was like listening to a lot of that, and I think I'm sort of coming back. I think things just go around in circles, and
Right.
you just kind of follow whatever you're into at the time.
I got to give you credit because I didn't mention this right off the top. You opened the show with Kingdom Come, and we talked about this briefly before.
No, Mountain Plain.
No, Kingdom Come? Mountain Plain?
Was it Kingdom Come?
Does it have a different name that I don't know about?
No.
You opened tonight with
Oh,
Kingdom
tonight.
Come, yeah.
Yes.
Not last night, yeah. Double header, back to back. I don't blame you, man.
It's all the same day, man.
Beauty, brother. That's beauty. Josh's totally smiling on you right now. Claire Lynch covered that song, and that's just amazing. Like, speaking of bluegrass and Americana greats, like, how did that come about? And the idea of Bela Fleck playing your banjo part?
Yeah. Well, he didn't. He just played. He played the bailiff. He played great banjo on it.
But he didn't touch Chris Luedecke banjo style. Couldn't do
He
it.
didn't do the little dorky things that I do, but it's worth a listen. She lives in Toronto. She has a Canadian partner, so she made an album like with a David Francis song on it, and J.P. Cormier song on it, and it's a really great record.
That was a great
Lightfoot
version of your
tune.
tune. And it came back into the bluegrass realm again.
Yeah.
Is that song kind of...
Yeah, I went down and tried to like sort of play a bunch of those songs in that style for a bit, but I don't know. I kind of like doing what I do, just playing by myself.
It's beautiful. I got a weird question for you. If you were a vegetable, what kind of vegetable would you be? Yeah? Tapping on the guitar. Do you have a favorite vegetable?
Well, right now, I don't know. I don't remember what the first three I thought of, but I like the round-topped, the Nantes carrots. Those
The
really
round-
sweet ones. The Nantes carrots or whatever.
Nantes. Oh, okay.
From
Yeah.
Nantes, and I guess they're probably from France originally, but they've got the sort of top of the root or the bottom, I guess, is
I just didn't understand it.
a
in the
rounded
Chester
off
accent.
tip.
No,
Yeah.
not carrot.
Yeah.
No, I know that. Yeah, that's what kind of vegetable you'd be as well. A carrot.
Pretty good.
It is. It's tasty. It's pretty good. All right. Well, I didn't want to bother you.
I
with
don't
the
know,
question. I
like
just-
a kohlrabi or something.
Oh wow! Respect.
So when I was at Dawson, I'll just tell you a little story about the mayor of Dawson. This is going public, but it's okay.
I can edit whatever you want out as well. They can get.
I think it's okay. But anyway,
Probably no
longtime
longer
friend
the
of mine is the mayor of Dawson City in the Yukon, and Dawson remains fascinating. But he was like, "Well, it'd be great if you want to come to the north end of town and see my place and come with your kids." And so we went up to his place, and he pulled a kohlrabi and served it to us. He's like, "I have never eaten one of these things before," and he's like, he had planted them. But everything grows really big because there's quite a long hours of daylight up there in the summer. And anyway, so we had some bubbly water, and then we were ready to leave, and one of the kids noticed that he had a dog house, and the Yukon is full of wonderful dogs, and but he had a really beautiful little dog house full of straw, like the dog had just left, and they were like, "Oh, do you have a dog? We didn't see it." And he's like, "Oh, funny story about the dog." He's like, "He's dead." And he's like, "But did you hear the story about how they found the baby woolly mammoth in the permafrost last winter?" And we were like, "Yeah, we did hear about that." And he was like, "Well, that baby woolly mammoth is being held in a freezer, and my dog is in the freezer next to it. And he was like, you asking me about this reminds me that I have to get a grave dug for my dog before the winter comes, before the permafrost, like it's permanently frozen there. But then he was like all like taken aback. He's like, I gotta get my dog out of the freezer with the woolly mammoth because the scientists aren't going to be very impressed with me.
At least he doesn't have to dig a mammoth-sized hole. That would
Well,
be
it was a
lot
baby
worse.
mammoth, I think, but
That's still. Actually, back to the Yukon. There's so many things I want to ask you about the Yukon. We're running out of time. You were in a can-can band and you played clarinet in a can-can
yeah,
band?
I played banjo. I met a guy named Barnacle Bob.
Okay. Go on.
And he plays the piano. He's the honky-tonk piano player, old-style piano player.
This is in Dawson?
In Dawson. He plays at the Pit. He used to play at the Pit. He doesn't play there anymore. But he plays at the Pit. And he kind of took me under his wing. And he was like, if you get a 4-string banjo, a tenor banjo,
Yeah.
I'll give you a gig. So the winter that we were there, I did that. And anyway, so I ended up playing the sort of plectrum-style banjo, sort of with the jazz chords and clarinet in a 2-piece orchestra for can-can dancers 3 nights a week.
2-piece orchestra?
I
How does
guess
that work?
2-piece ensemble,
Okay. Sort of an oxymoron.
2-piece band. I don't know, whatever we were.
Cool.
Piano player. I was the accompanist. I think they called me the swing musician. Anyway,
Nice.
I had to borrow a tuxedo, and I had like a pretty good-sized beard, and rarely had a shower, and came in from out of town and played, this clarinet and banjo. And I played clarinet in high school. I wanted to go to university for it, but I didn't think I was good enough.
Okay, so you had some musical background, like some theory behind you and stuff. Other than can you do the can? What songs are you guys playing in a can?
Well, there were all kinds of. It depended on the night. Like there was a midnight show that was full of saucy numbers.
Wow. How saucy are we talking?
Well, it was mostly about the movement, right? It was
Of the body.
Of the bodies.
Not like the can movement. Stand up
the
for the can.
is, yeah, no, but it was like, I think we did, I don't know.
I'm just picturing
me
like
on
a
the spot
basement
here.
full of like union leaders being like, we have to progress the can movement. What are we gonna do? Sorry.
We actually played the can a lot at our house off Spotify for a bunch of years. We'd run around the house. We have a loop in our house, and we could run around to the actual Offenbach can. That was a good memory. But Willow Weep for Me and all kinds of classics she
Cool.
would sing. There was a singer, and Gertie.
Gertie was a singer?
Diamond Tooth Gertie.
Oh wow, Diamond Tooth Gertie. I've heard
Yeah.
stories of Diamond Tooth Gertie.
So she was the original one had a diamond tooth stud.
Wow.
So
There's a song from 25 years ago I would love for you to play. If you
no,
don't mind me
I don't
asking.
have any 25-year-old songs, do I?
I don't know. It's pretty old, but
Okay.
you also put this on a newer record, so
Oh,
this
great.
is kind of in between. Would you play Little Streams of Whiskey?
Yeah. Yeah, I could do that.
I love this song.
I'll just play it on the guitar. I followed a little stream of whiskey to your door. I stand here and wonder if there's more. Would you make a pallet on your floor? I've been down for nothing at all. Got no kind of nothing at all. And nothing ain't nothing at all. saw a picture of white sand with a woman and a man walking hand in hand into the sea. I didn't want to be that man, wanted to be that white sand, the burning edge of Eden's land, be pure geography with uncountable pieces of me. I've been down, I've been down for nothing at all. Got no kind of nothing at all. And I followed a little stream of whiskey to your door. There you go.
That's so pretty.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, that song takes its title from a lyric in the Big Rock Candy Mountain.
I wondered. Little streams of alcohol come trickling down.
Where
the
the little
rocks.
streams of alcohol come trickling down the rocks.
Beautiful.
And then Doc Watson had a version called Little Stream of Whiskey.
Oh, wow.
But it's a version of the Big Rock Candy Mountain.
That's beautiful. Cool trade-off, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
I got a message from Chris Cool one time, who was a
great banjo
wonderful
player.
banjo player and musician, and he was like your Little Stream of Whiskey is above Doc Watson's on my Google search.
That's
He's
congratulations.
like, I think he was not that impressed.
He was upset. He was
was
looking
real.
up the Doc Watson's version.
He was like, where's the Doc Watson version?
I'm
Yeah.
sick of this Chris Luedecke
Yeah.
taking up all the gigs. That's such a beautiful song, man.
Oh,
and
thank
it's so
you.
like sad and depressing, but it's beautiful. Why did you bring it back? Why did you bring it
Why didn't I
three
do it?
albums later? Yeah.
Because I thought it was good.
So that was one of those songs where you thought it was good, and you were like, "People, why
Listen
don't you
again.
request this more? I'm bringing it back."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty much exactly that. Whatever I said an hour ago, I unsay now. And
Nope.
stand by it.
You're Have you ever had a gig that just went totally sideways, like halfway through the gig, where you're like, "I think I'm losing them,"
Oh, probably. Yeah.
but you don't remember them?
Oh, well, I can tell you the first time I played at the Dawson City Music Festival, it went very poorly for me.
What? I mean, you were living there?
Yeah.
I just said what, like Tom Parra, by the way. What?
No, I stood on stage for 45 minutes. I had been up late drinking with the host the night before, and she had remembered me, but then forgot me the next day. And there were two other bands on stage, and I was just kind of new at it. Anyway, I stood there for 45 minutes and never played a song.
What? How
She
does
just
that
kept
work?
going around, and it was like a Songwriters of the Round thing.
Oh.
And she was like, okay, and the next band, and just skipped over me every time. And then she was like, yeah, and I just stood there. I didn't know what to do. I was just like, I didn't stand there knowing what to do. I stand there thinking that I was going to speak on the microphone at any moment and never doing it.
Wow. Was
I was
that
like,
early
I'm
on?
going to interject.
Yeah.
What's that?
Sorry, I didn't want to ironically interject. Was that pretty early on in your career then?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, before anything. But I had worked at the festival all winter. Basically, like,
Oh my
I worked at they were like, basically the festival director was like, you can have a set next summer. And then I got a job working for him, and I watched my set dwindle down until this one little appearance. And then I stood there on stage with the one little appearance, and I was like, wow. And everybody in the audience could tell that this wasn't going well for me.
You got skipped over. Like you must have done something bad the night before. If you.
No, I don't think so. I think they were like, that poor kid.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah. Anyway, it was terrible. But yeah, so that was an awkward moment.
In the early days, I used to look at it like I was saying with the songwriting quote. I used to look at it as like get all the bad gigs out of the way early because I started my career in Toronto too, so it was easy to get all the bad gigs out of the way early, all the empty bars. But have you ever dealt with hecklers that, like, what did you learn from early hecklers?
Well, all kinds of things. Generally, they're the people who buy the most merch.
Nice.
But
guilty.
Oftentimes, like, the thing that's really bothering you on stage is like somebody who's having more fun than everybody else, which means they're having fun. It's like the name of the game. So it's like pretty hard. But one time I played in Red Deer. Red Deer? No.
You can say
Lethbridge.
You can say nameless Alberta as
Lethbridge, Tongue and Groove. I think it was the Tongue and Groove in Lethbridge, and I arrived, and the owner of the bar had just broken up with his girlfriend.
Okay.
And about 15 minutes before the show was meant to start, he was like, "Go on now." And he turned the lights off on the stage and in the room, and then he went to the board and plugged a 58 microphone, the regular sort of...
Yeah, we don't even have one up here.
Regular microphone thing, plugged it in and ran it to the bar and sat at a seat with the mic line and then moaned over my whole set. And
what kind of moaning are we talking about here? Like crying moaning or
whimpering?
whimpering?
like keening, like he was like, but like a ghostly, like he was just so hammered.
Oh, wow. Why did he bring a microphone with him to get hammered?
Well, he owned the place. He was like, this is what it is.
What was it? Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was really awful. But, yeah.
And
it was a very strange gig for lots of reasons.
Was it a busy show, or was it you and this guy moaning through your
Well, there
set?
was probably 20 people.
Wow, that's not enough to take
there was
the edge off the
there was a
moaning.
whole L'Arche community that had come out.
Okay, nice.
So there was also, in the second set, there was a harmonica player from the L'Arche community, which was also just, I was just like, well, fucking bring it on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like add to this. Let's just have a jamboree.
Let's go crazy tonight. Yeah.
So I didn't really mind so much. I was traveling by Greyhound bus. I took a early tour. I bought a Greyhound bus, like long bus ticket, and played all my gigs from Greyhound.
Nice. Did you ever do the Via Rail thing?
No.
No? Oh, that seemed like such a sweet gig.
Yeah, it seemed cool.
What's your favorite drive? I feel like you've done a lot of drives in this country. So what's your favorite drive out of all those?
Well, I don't know.
You can say from the South Shore up to Berwick. You can say it if you want. We know that Highway 12 is very exciting.
I didn't take Highway 12 yesterday. I took this road.
The 10?
No, what's it, up through Aylesford and
The
then
Aylesford?
across the 40s road.
Nice. Oh, so
Yeah.
you took the 12 up to the 40s and then over to Aylesford Road?
That's right.
Neat.
Yeah, it was good.
That is some regional... There are listeners of this podcast in Portugal right now who are going, what the hell is Highway 12?
Well,
What's
that's
the
good.
matter?
No, it was
Would you
nice.
recommend
I kind of like, I mean, don't you think that driving is mostly about your mood? Like,
Yeah? And your soundtrack.
soundtrack, sure. Yeah.
I feel like I've said this on the show before, but do you ever get that feeling when you're listening to stuff on the radio and you're maybe on a treacherous drive, like Highway 12, where there's a lot of bends, and you're like opera on CBC2, and it's like hitting the high notes right now, and you're kind of shaky, you're turning a corner, you're like, I don't think I want to be found in my car
With this
flipped
blaring.
over listening to opera.
The one today was really good. Does anybody know what that was called?
Was it on CBC2?
Yeah, it was like something kind of Baroque.
Baroque.
Yeah, it was
Not
good.
Baroquin.
I don't know. I only heard about 4 minutes of it. I was like, this is amazing. And then I never put it on again.
I was probably in my car at the same time thinking, I don't want to be found dead to this.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
So I put on Billie Holiday because I was like, that's what I want.
I heard 2 arias. They were really good.
I heard 2 arts. Actually, there's an interesting topic. Your dad, who recently passed away, I'm really sorry.
Oh, well, that's okay. 6 years ago now.
6 years ago. I mean, that's recent enough to
Yeah.
still make an impact. Your dad was really into classical music, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And was that something you rebelled against in the early days?
I'd say.
You did not like classical music,
Oh, no, I always liked it.
but it was something that you wanted to distance yourself from?
Oh, maybe not.
What did your dad think of the old time stuff?
Oh, he thought it was garbage.
Really? All the Smithsonian stuff?
Oh, he doesn't know any. He didn't know any of that stuff.
Okay.
Wouldn't listen to that. He
Really?
liked Voice of an Angel, Catherine McKinnon.
Okay.
I bought many. You can buy that at every yard sale.
Yeah, I'm pretty
in
sure
Eastern
it's still
Canada.
50 cents. It's
You
the only
know,
thing that's still 50 cents.
Nancy Ames singing "Cuckoo Paloma."
Oh, wow. Easy listening.
Easy listening, yeah. Beautiful female singers. That's why I like the opera today. That the mezzo soprano sounded a little bit like Maria Callas. She had a real like hefty, throaty
Do
kind
you
of thing.
find yourself getting older and leaning into that stuff?
No, I think it's cyclical. I think I'm just like forever eating the apple and going like I should do this more often. But with everything, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Like I'm always sort of excited about something, but I'm always distracted. I rarely, my habits are only bad.
I think we should wrap this up.
Yes, probably.
That's an amazing reaction. I think you're the first guest who's been like, yeah, I'm done. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your candor, your songwriting. There was one thing I was thinking about, which was one of the first times I saw you live. Actually, this might be the first time I met you. Was at Hughes Room in Toronto. And you were playing the show. The Stray Birds opened for you.
Oh, yeah.
Who were lovely. I liked their voice a lot. And I remember my wife, Fran, and I sat down in a seat, and the Stray Birds played a set, and it was great. And then someone came over to us right before your set, and they were like, "Are you guys having a nice time? Oh, great, great. Just so you know, you're sitting in Gordon Lightfoot's seat, and if he shows up, we'll have to ask you to move."
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't a special seat or anything, but suddenly we were like,
That's weird.
we're going to get kicked out of an Old Man Luedecke show if Gordon Lightfoot shows up. It was sold out in there, I think, so we would have just gotten kicked out. If
You would have
Gordy-
been turfed.
Yeah, God rest his soul, but
Yeah.
come on, Gordy, don't kick us out of your seats.
Well, that was the only place I met him, but he didn't show up that night.
No, he didn't show up that night. But I thought about that night because I think that was the night that I heard you mention that you ended up once, it was a show in Toronto, and that you ended up once on a rooftop with Pete Seeger singing songs. Is that true?
Nope.
No, that didn't happen?
Nope.
I thought you said that night that you spent a really late night one night and you ended up on a rooftop.
I don't think Pete Seeger spent any nights on rooftops.
No.
I thought I burned down a house once from the rooftop.
How did you do that?
Well, I flicked a cigarette into a gutter that was full of dry leaves and felt like I went back into the party kind of like, well, how long do we got?
Good luck. God, you're willing to take everyone down with you, eh? You do belong to the kingdom come.
It was a steep pitched roof
Oh my
in
God.
Halifax downtown. I could have taken the whole thing out, but I think it's okay. I just didn't know any better. But no, I don't have a Pete Seeger story like that at all.
Did you ever get to meet him?
I did.
Oh, what was that interaction like?
Bad.
Really?
Kind of.
Kind of a classic meeting your heroes
Yeah,
moment?
that's it. Yeah,
Okay.
I drove. We went to Beacon, New York. We bought a Jetta in 2007, and the day we bought it, I played at the Garrison Brewery in Halifax.
Nice.
And then we left at midnight and drove till 6 p.m. the next day to see him play.
Wow.
And he played at just after 6, and he only played like 3 or 4 songs. And I just hadn't. I had read about the gig in a like a memo from the Beacon Sloop Club. So it was not a great. It wasn't. It was actually a Richie Haven show. I went because it was
Oh.
like a Pete Seeger. I thought it was because Pete Seeger was playing. Anyway, but yeah, I can't imagine singing songs with him on a rooftop. That's
Okay,
cool.
then I just invented this fantastic story.
Yeah, it is fantastic.
I'm going to keep telling it, though, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let her rip.
Okay, great. The mythology of Old Man Luedecke. Okay, well, then I'm going to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
You've inspired me as a musician. You've inspired me as a podcaster. Thank you.
Well, I hope I haven't been too much of an idiot.
No, the perfect idiot. Like, the kind of idiot you want in your community.
It's the kind of thing you want to get embossed on a business card. Perfect idiot.
I dare you. I'm Old Man Luedecke.
Perfect idiot.
The perfect idiot. Yeah. Shotgun album title, though. I'm going to let you choose a song to end the show. I want you to end it however you want to end it.
Well, I still have the guitar on.
You were so gracious. You just took your set last night. Oh,
I almost said old. Old played 2 sets. Chris played 2 sets last night, and the second set was mostly just handing it over to the audience, which I've never really seen anyone do. But how about a round of applause for Chris for just being like such a gracious musician with so many great songs in your head.
Whoa. Anybody want anything?
There you go.
Oh, the Briar and the Rose is a good idea. Let's do that
is a
one.
great call.
Yeah. Jenna Berry sang on this song. She was making dinner for friends, and we called her right at supper time, and she was like, "Okay, hang on."
That's the second story I've had on the podcast in a row of Jenna Berry like cooking supper for friends and then being part of a song.
Oh yeah?
Seriously, with Corey Eisen, it happened too. Kudos, Jenna.
It's probably the only way to get her. First love is true love. It's the only love I've known. I had young hands, I had no plans, and I met my Delia Rose in a small town in the mountains, where she was cleaning rooms. I was thorny, I was young and horny. It was either her or doom. As I've wandered, I've often wondered how love and water flow in the garden with my darling. The briar and the rose still grow. I pursued her and I wooed her till she walked by my side. Then at seaside, at high tide, she became my bride. As I've wandered, I've often wondered how love and water flow in the garden with my darling. The briar and the rose still grow. We had children, we got tired. There was change in every phase. If we did not have the nighttime, we always had the days. As I've wandered, I've often wondered how love and water flow in the garden with my darling. The briar and the rose still grow. Oh, the briar and the rose still grow.
Keep it going, everybody, for Old Man Luedecke.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for
Zach.
coming out, man.
Thank you. Nice to be heckled by you.
Do Zach.